Even whilst we fight, we watch. Even whilst we kill, we judge. Midst war's full fury, still we see. Midst all your guards, still we strike. We are the Death Lord's icy gaze, and we are his reaping blade.
Deathshroud Terminators, also known as the Pale Harvestmen, the Scythes of Nurgle, or the Eyes of Mortarion. Let's paint 3 of them today. I've already painted the base colors off camera, but here's a quick recap. I primed them in black with a white zenithal from above. For the armor, I used Plaguebearer Flesh Contrast. The capes are Volupus Pink, and the bone-like parts on their shoulders were done with Guilliman Flesh. For more detailed steps, check out my Lord of Poxes video. It follows the same painting method I use for all Death Guard models. Now I'm painting the horns and bone details with Ushabti Bone. I actually painted these before the Lord of Poxes, so the techniques aren't as refined. I'm still using Ushabti Bone for the trophies, skulls, and the fleshy cracks in the armor. I used gunmetal for the chainmail, parts of the Plague Spurt gauntlets, and the blades of the Man Reapers. The Perturges, those leather strips on the pauldrons, are painted with Renox hide. I really love the Cataphractii pattern armor. Those Perturges give it a unique ancient Greek feel. After finishing the bone sections, I gave them a coat of Guilliman Flesh to shade and tone them down. Now let's switch angles a bit. I'm continuing to highlight the horn sections with Screaming Skull to bring them out more.
Just like with my Lord of Poxes, I found that Screaming Skull works well for edge highlighting almost every major part of the Deathshroud. That's why you'll see me consistently using it wherever it feels appropriate. I'll apply different shades over these areas later on to break the uniformity and give each section a more unique, worn look.
After applying Guilliman Flesh, I touched up the fleshy parts to revive some of the highlights. At this point, I hadn't bought Kislev flesh yet, so I'm edge highlighting the Proterges with Screaming Skull.
Now I'm using Volupus Pink to shade some of the fleshy part that cracked out of the armor, to give it a infected looks.
After edge highlight the Terriges with Screaming Skull, it's kinda stand out too much. I'm not happy with it, so I blend it down with Reikland Flesh Shade.
Next, I painted a few parts of the armor in silver. Not sure what they are exactly, maybe some kind of air filter? Let me know in the comments if you know. While using silver, I also highlighted the edges of the Man Reapers. For the trim, I used Balthazar Gold. Like I said in previous videos, I love doing trim. It's one of the things that really defines Chaos Trader armor and sets it apart from Loyalist Marines. After the trim was done, I added Screaming Skull to the weapons, imagining the Man Reapers as being made from bone instead of wood to enhance the horror vibe of the Death Guard. Not 100% lore accurate, but I like the concept. While waiting for that to dry, I highlighted the cape using red, focusing on raised areas where light would hit. I did the same with the hood and the cloth wrapping around the Man Reaper handles. If the red looks a bit pink, that's because I added white. I quickly realized that's not the right way to highlight red. Instead of turning it pink, you should build from dark brown up to red, then finish with a bright orange for the final highlight. Lesson learned. I used Screaming Skull to highlight the fleshy cracks over a thinned Volupus pink layer. For the tentacles, I added highlights with Screaming Skull, using vertical brushstrokes for texture. I focused on the raised areas and left the shadows untouched. For metallic areas like trim and the bell, I highlighted silver over Balthazar Gold, which had been shaded with Reikland Flesh Shade, then touched up with more gold to add shine and a worn look. On the Champion's hanging bell, I don't know the lore name. I painted it with Ushabti bone, shaded with Guilliman flesh, then highlighted with Screaming Skull, building up layers until it looked right. The armor looked a bit dark after shading with Agrak's Earthshade, so I used a 50-50 mix of Flash Gitz Yellow and Russian Green to brighten up the edges. You can use Nurgling Green if you have it, it works well too. For the pus bubbles on the armor, I used Flash Gitz Yellow and added tiny dots of white for highlights, either dead center or slightly offset depending on where the light hits. Then I shaded with Volupus Pink for a bruised, infected look. After a few final touch-ups, the Death Shroud Terminators are finished. I really love these models. I painted them before the Lord of Poxes, so the techniques weren't as polished, but they helped me sharpen my skills before tackling more advanced projects. What do you think of my Death Shroud Terminators? Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you're new. If you didn't like it, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video, and keep painting.